The Flash, issue 1, legacy number 801, which is on the cover. I may actually work some of these other ones out and just say them on the show, because heck yeah.
Sad bastard.
Legacy numbers for the win, baby. So, yes, The Flash. It's a Cy Spurrier with Mike Diodato Jr. on the art. We've got a new Flash run as beginning. And we got a taste of this, and I think it was issue 800. We got like a little short story by this creative team to sort of tease what it was like. So stylistically, it's kind of what I was expecting. It's similar art style with all the boxes that have kind of the bleed over boxes outside into the margins of the page.
There's a lot of cut up boxes. Our panels just split into boxes. I'm not gonna say for no reason, because there is a stylistic reason, but no functional reason. Yeah.
But it does create a vibe and a look. Even in the first page, the way that kind of Bart overlaps one of the breaks, but then Max doesn't, but then his speech bubble overlaps the gap. Like, it sort of gives this sense of like 3 dimensions in a weird way, but the way it's sort of bouncing backwards and forwards.
It's interesting that sometimes they're behind the bar and other times they're above. Like, it's really inconsistent.
Yeah. Well, I think the point of that is to give you the sense of movement.
It does, yeah.
So there's a purpose to it. So the basic gist of this is that the Speed Force is starting to go a bit wonky. There's something happening with it. And one of the big ideas that's brought up here, and there's a really good scene that kind of shows this, is that Mr. Terrific tries to talk to Wally about the Speed Force, and Wally just kind of shrugs everything off as, it's, Speed Force magic-y stuff, whatever. It just works. I feel it in my bones. I know it's...
Speed Force Pro, I ain't got to explain shit.
That, basically. Yep. And Mr. Terrific took that personally. Basically, where he throws his phrase back at him at the end of the conversation, but he's basically explaining, scientifically, I need to try and figure this out. We need to understand what it's doing and what problems it's causing and why it's happening. And so I think at least this first arc feels like we're going to really be delving into like the Speed Force as a concept, and maybe treat it as something a bit more than just, it's this force that can let us do all these magic-y things without much explanation. So we'll see what he does with that over the course of it. But that is the basic gist, as well as Linda struggling, being not just like a mum again with a new baby, but the idea that she had superpowers for like 6 months and was doing all these things at super speed and is now struggling with basically almost like PTSD, or maybe postnatal depression.
It's postpartum. Yeah.
But
that's how I read it.
But I think that's like multiplied by the fact that she was doing, like, she literally says she wrote like 5 books when she was pregnant because she had the powers to go quickly, and now she's waiting around feeding a baby, and like that's getting to her. So that's the other big plot point of this issue. We'll get to the other stuff. How did we feel about this?
Connor, you want to go first?
Sure. As soon as I did tease some thoughts on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'm disappointed in this book.
Oh, me too. This is what there are parts of it that I liked. Right.
I like all the ideas, but it's so dense.
The execution. Well, there's that, and like, there's just a lot going on for an intro.
Also,
right?
Mr. Terrific, possibly the smartest man in the DC universe, has to be going, hey, remember PEDMAS, basic maths, bro. Like, what?
Yeah, I just think those meant to...
I didn't even know if that was meant to be Mr. Terrific in that scene at first, because I was like, that can't be, surely.
Yeah.
And then it's a page later where Wally walks in, and then it's like, it is him. But yeah, that completely baffled me. The idea that
who's he talking to there? It's some random person, right?
It's mysterious. It's this guy in like a big kind of white hat. Terrific calls him Inspector. He's got like a cowl on, like almost like Batman-esque cowl over most of his face.
Yeah.
But we never see it. It never addresses that he's there. Wally never acknowledges him. He just hides in a corner.
He also has a big white hat as well as the...
I did say the big white hat.
Yeah.
That was like the first thing I said.
Aye. But then he said...
He's only from the future, right? This is what I'm getting
I definitely get the vibe that he's from the future, maybe even used to be a speedster or something, and knows that the speedster's existence is going to
And okay,
break
you
time.
want to tell me this guy can correct Mr. Terrific's maths? Like, okay, I can get on board with that if you want to use that as a benchmark of how smart he is. But to go, hey, no, you forgot like the stuff you learn when you're like 13.
I wish Spurrier had taken, like, he just talked to a national mathematician and go, hey, how would a really smart person forget? And it wouldn't have been PEMDAS, right? It would have been anything else, like,
Yeah, like that's so basic, right? That is like that's like middle of high school sort of level of like that everyone knows.
On social media, they'll put up those quizzes, right, where people will be like, "Is this what number is this?" And you always get the idiots arguing in the comments of what it is
because they don't follow. Yeah,
right.
Which is fine. It's annoying watching those people be wrong, but it's fine.
The DC's third smartest man shouldn't be one of those guys. That's missing that, especially when he's off by 0.4. It wasn't like 0.0004, right? It says he's off by 0.4.
Yeah,
but that's pretty big in math.
Because like I genuinely, when I was reading this, I was like, "Is this Mr. Terrific?" Because he's in his civvies for the start of the scene, and I was questioning maybe it's someone else, and I'm just misreading it. That it's meant to be him. It does say Mr. Holt at one point, but I'm like, maybe I'm misreading it somehow because this is moronic.
And maybe this is Spurrier tipping his hand that it's not going to be a purely intelligence mathematical type thing, right? Because at the beginning, what I do like is that intro with Bart and Max Mercury, right? All the different names.
Before we move on to something else, I haven't said anything about the scene yet.
Oh.
I could not give a shit about any of this, and you two have went on for like 5 minutes. I don't care.
It's so wildly out of character.
I don't care.
No.
I feel like if we're gonna get
character assassination, Mr. Terrific
character assassination
wrong is character assassination.
Look, the way the character says sorry clearly indicates that he's being condescending as he says it, right? So I just kind of take it is not even so much that this is exactly why he's wrong, just this is how he's poking at him to prod him. I don't know, I don't care. Even if it's exactly the way you say it is, I just don't care. I don't care.
No, but here's the thing, if you're gonna fill up your book with a bunch of scientific technical jargon like he does in the next page with the different models of the universe, like, you can tell that Spurrier has done some research to bring to the book. Just, I don't know, get that other one right for the third smartest man in DC. That's all. I feel like Brainiac messing that up. It just doesn't compute. But now let me go back to the part that I do like from the beginning, where I think this book's going to go. My main problems with this is there's so much going on, and it's sometimes I would just get lost in all the wording, right? And sometimes it feels like a novel, and my brain would wander, right, instead of keeping it going. And I don't know if I want that in a flash book, right? I like my flash books to be more kinetic, and you can tell a deep story still, but like weighing it down with all these words, I don't know.
It's so much. There's also that. There's a page while the kids are getting ready. I think it's while she's starting to do the breastfeeding at that point in the morning. And it gets to here's just a block of text on either side of a panel. They're not even in a text box anymore or a narration box. Just here's 4 paragraphs. Have at it.
Yeah, it's definitely dense. I mean, I'm not going to argue that.
But
I think I like this more than you guys did, because I don't really feel like there's so much going on. Everything feels connected to me, so I didn't really have that overwhelming idea.
No, I feel like everything's connected. It's not that. It's just there's a lot. There's a lot going on with the whole idea that the Speed Force is broke, right? There's something up. But I feel like what they're doing here with the introduction of Max Mercury and all the different names he's gone by, and like how he has constantly been able to go, right, is because he ascends and he uses the Speed Force to do this. And that it's almost as if, and Pete's going to hate this because of Star Wars and stuff, it's kind of like the concept of the Force, where the Force... Yeah, George tried to make it with midichlorians and it's this biological thing. But at the end of the day, the Force exists because you believe in the Force. right?
There is that one panel where he says, "I am one with the Speed Force," and it was
Yeah.
straight out of the two from Rogue One.
Yeah, Chirrut way.
Yeah.
Donnie Yen. And so
Yeah.
like just the idea of the force, the Speed Force as this philosophical thing, and that's why Mr. Terrific feels like there's something wrong with it, because it isn't scientific. It is this kind of thought form that changes and adapts to the people that are using it, right? And so for Max, it's this thing that he attains enlightenment for. But for Wally, it is this battery that allows him to, be a hero and whatnot. And so I like all of that stuff. It's just the in-between that we get going on. There's a lot.
The idea that Wally and the other speedsters have been sort of tapping into it without ever really understanding how it works or what damage they might be causing by using it as heavily as they do is an interesting concept to go into. I really like the art. I think the Junior's art's really good. I love, especially when it is moments like the like them speeding about the house and Linda like yelling at the kids and the conversation around the couch and all that stuff. I love that series of panels where she's breastfeeding, and I think Wally's like running around getting the kids ready, so there's like the lightning's all around her, but it's kind of visualizing this, how she feels like she's standing still and being surrounded by all this stuff. I think there's a lot of smart stuff going on here. It's definitely a very different feel to a flashbook. It does feel like something, it feels like something that maybe, I'm not saying it feels like his writing, but it feels like something that maybe tonally that Tom King would write about another character, and we're doing kind of that with Wally West and the Flash. And while it's not the first tone or anything like that I would think of when it comes to the Flash, I do think it's a good idea to sort of vary up every once in a while, and this does feel quite refreshing after like the relatively consistent tone Flash has had for a while. Certainly, obviously there's been different teams and different runs since the start of Rebirth too, really overall, but I would say that tonally it was pretty similar across both of them. There's kind of a vibe it goes for.
Yeah.
This feels like it's doing something a little bit different, which I kind of appreciate. I do think it is a bit wordy. I do think there's a weird panel where Mr. Terrific seems to magically turn into his outfit.
Yeah, I was questioning that as well. I'm like, nanotech?
That's what I'm assuming. I'm assuming it's meant to be
it's a jacket. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's meant to be some like tech that he's got that transformed the outfit, but it doesn't show it well enough to make it clear that that's what's happening.
It literally doesn't. I just happened to actually get that page up right now. It doesn't actually show anything. It's one panel. He's normal. The very next panel, it's superhero outfit. There is no transition whatsoever.
It's very, very weird. It almost feels that a mistake was made in the art and it was too late to correct it or something. But you get the sense that Wally's having these little flashes where he's like sort of like seeing nightmarish things that are coming from the Speed Force and he's downplaying it. But there's this warning of the uncoiled are coming, which obviously pays off at the end. The big thing plot-wise that's going on outside of all this is that Grodd and an army of gorillas, all with like tech, on them, have been attacking places, and then seemingly people are being abducted into these bubbles that are sort of freezing them in time, and they're going somewhere. So that's kind of the mystery that is there to be solved, which is probably related to what's going on with the Speed Force, but certainly it's presented as a slightly separate thing right now.
And there's a speedster kid called Chad.
There's a that was a bit random at the end, but we'll see where that goes. But there was also a random speedster early on in the first fight as well.
Indigo, not him.
The Indigo.
Yeah, Indigo. Yeah.
I took that as the Indigo streak was this Chad guy.
Yeah, maybe the same guy.
Yeah, I think so.
But I'm sure they'll tap into that. Actually, the scene that I loved though, I loved the stuff with the kids at the school. I thought this was super interesting. I loved the family build. I love that this still seems to be keeping everything that was on the last run in continuity. So you've got Maxine being Iray's like best friend at school, and even them teasing or hinting that Maxine's got a crush on Jay, and like so they're bickering kind of thing.
Iray's not handling it well.
No.
Yeah.
And they also seem to have slightly aged up, like not like a big jump, but just like a sort of we're kind of about to get into that preteens age now.
They're in Stranger Things season 2.
Yeah, well,
age.
I say that because there's a direct reference where she says that Maxine said she walked in on her brother once and he was doing something disgusting, and I thought, we're kind of getting to that age where that's becoming maybe a concern for them.
Yeah.
But
So what was Jay doing in the dark room, in the boiler room?
Well,
then?
yeah, so the setup of this
Yeah.
is that they're wondering where Jay is because he gets sent to the principal or whatever, and it's been a while. So they use their powers so that Irie can sneak out, and she speeds down to the basement where she can hear him in the next door, and she comes in, and he's got his shirt off, and it's like he was talking to someone, but he just kind of like doesn't tell her anything. And then as they leave this boiler room, there's this little figure, like this little silhouette of someone on the ground, like someone small. So who the hell is this? Is this some version of the Atom that he was talking to? Like, I don't know what's going on here, but I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by it. I'll say that much.
Yeah, I'm really frustrated because I like a lot of the ideas, and like that is presented as story beats. But man, it's just such a drag to read. Like, it took me multiple attempts.
I don't agree
with
it being a drag. I think it is dense, and I think the fact that this was an oversized first issue did make it felt longer even more than it would.
It took me 3 seconds to read this.
I read it in one, and if this was only like the usual 20 pages, I think I would have just been fine. I think I'd have got to the end and be like, okay, that was obviously a more dense read than most books, but I did not have that much of a problem with this. I think there's some nitpicks to be had for sure, but I really like the art, and I like all the concepts it's playing with.
You won't even let us nitpick over Mr. Terrific getting maths wrong.
You can nitpick, but you went on for 5 minutes. That was not a nitpick. At that point, you literally said character assassination. That is not a nitpick.
Well,
you can't say something's a nitpick and then say it's character assassination. Those two things completely oppose each other.
No, if it's a character I don't care that much about.
Then why are you whining about it so much?
Because it's still not right.
Oh, you... Like, if anything, the only thing that I'm less than excited about is Chad at the end, and this villain who is the Coiled, or one of the Coiled that shows up at the very end.
Yeah,
we see this big spiky looking alien looking dude.
Yeah. I don't know if I like the idea of the Speed Force being this alien thing, right? Maybe it's just something that they share, because we did have that, what were they called in the Minute War?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we had them that they would use the Speed Force for other things too. So I mean, but this feels like it's another dimensional type being, and that's
this feels like maybe not that they created the Speed Force, so maybe they'll go down that route. But I'm thinking of this, like, Connor will get this reference more than you, Matt. But like something like Mass Effect till the Expanse, where you discover something that some other race that's ancient built the tech. I'm wondering if we're going to do something here where there was this species in another dimension or whatever it is that originally used the Speed Force, and the speedsters have been tapping into it too much. They
lived there before.
Yeah. So I could see them going down something like that route. I do think the ending's quite sudden, and someone just calling your character Chad's just not a good idea. But other than that, I actually quite like most of this issue. I mean, I'm definitely in for issue 2 at the very least.
Oh yeah, look, I put up with a lot worse in Flash books. Right?
Yes.
I read in the dark era of the New 52. Okay, this is not, like, again, maybe it was a little harsh to say I actively disliked it.
Matt, I knew Connor was going to come in whining, because I saw his tweet. I knew he was going to whinge about it being dense.
I wanted to love this book because I really like some other Spurrier stuff. I read I'm sure it was a Spurrier book not long ago, where he did a full 4 issues of a silent comic, and it was phenomenal. 4 issues, no dialogue whatsoever. The man can craft an amazing story with a great artist, and there's this.
I just don't think that dense is always bad. I mean, Wonder Woman #1 last week was very dense, but
there's dense and flow. Like, this has no flow to it. It's just walls of text is what it feels like.
In times, it reminded me of Superman Lost, where he's it's just going on about certain things way too long. But there are germs there that I do enjoy, and I'm curious. I'm going to keep reading.
Yeah, I like this more than that for sure.
Even stuff like there's a page, it's right before the title page, where he's getting interviewed. And it's supposed to be like, all these people ask him questions at once. And usually in those, it's spaced out. It's like, you don't actually need to read all of these questions word for word, because they're kind of just meant to represent, the noise. But he's actually answering it. There is a specific flow and I owe you credit to the letterer. It's really clear which direction it's supposed to read, what reads when. But there's so much of it just in this like 2 panels at the bottom of the page that it's just like, and it's, if that was the only instance, it'd be like, oh, okay, whatever. But it feels like that throughout like 50% of the book.
Actually, I'm glad you brought that page, because there's a little tease here that we might. It's just worth mentioning is that Grodd, or one of the apes, mentions something about sorry to hear about the breakup. Now, obviously, you hear that in this couple breaking up, and that's what the reporter reads it as. She's like, "Oh, are you single?" And he's like, "No, I'm a family man." And obviously, Linda's not in a great place right now. And I'm not.
Right.
I don't think this is necessarily building up to like the split up of Wally and Linda, but I think that tease is there because something is going to break up. But clearly, this is information from the future or something. So I mean, we'll see where that goes. But
I honestly, I read that as maybe like he's physically breaking up, like his atoms are like coming apart. Almost.
Oh yeah, I can see that. I may be right.
That'd be really weird for him for some random ape to tell the Flash, sorry about your breakup. Yeah. About him falling apart at the molecular level.
Yeah, it makes me wonder.
I mean, it was Grodd, wasn't it? Not like just random ape.
Yeah, it was Grodd by that point, yeah, because he's got.
Oh, was Grodd?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Because he's got the different face thing on, doesn't he? Because they all have some tech on, but Grodd's got like the visor thing.
They've all got a visor, but Grodd's has like the bronze things going around it as well.
He's got extra bits, which I think is just a simple art touch, so we always know that he's Grodd in the context of the scene,
right?
Which is smart.
Yeah.
You know. I love that title page, by the way, with all the harsh purples and yellows and sort of
it's a nice page.
The negative color of like the detail. It's very good. Yeah. I don't know. I like this as a slightly more moody flashback. I think the Adams run, for the most part, was designed to be like, okay, we need to give Wally happiness, so we're going to be a really happy run where there's never too many like serious threats. It's going to be about rehabilitating the family and making it happy fun times. This, to me, from issue 1, feels like, okay, we're continuing that continuity, but it's time to give him a serious story again where the stakes might be high, you know?
Let's give him some pain.
Yeah. Well, superheroes need some pain sometimes. That's okay. As long as they don't just completely nuke the character by ruining the entire dynamic. Like, if by the end of this, Linda's divorced them and like 2 of the kids are dead, then yes, we can give him shit for it. But right now, this is all right. This is just.
We might as well just call him Peter Parker at that point.
Yeah, reading Spider-Man for the last 70 years or whatever it's been, at the 60 years probably.
Yeah.
It just must be such a depressing thing because they just keep going back.
Again, I've gone through worse parts of the Flash. This is just a speed bump, if you will, because I'm so going to keep reading. It's not, again, I like the ideas enough and I like certain things, but yeah, it felt like a chore at points.
It's honestly like if I read the second issue as it comes out, great, I'll read it. If it gets to the point where I've got 2 or 3 of these to read at once, that's the point where I'm. If I open up the second issue and it's still like this, that's the point where I don't know if I'll have it in me to sit and read that much.
All right, well, let's get to rating. Connor, what are you rating the Flash issue 1?
I'm gonna 4.
Matt,
I'm just gonna go with a solid 7.
I forgot about Matt's rates. Absurd.
Well, I'm giving it an 8. Which, and my scaling is an 8.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah. I think I argued my points, and it makes sense that I gave it an 8.
On Matt's scale, like, if it was lining up with either of ours, based on what he said, I can't see it being anything higher than like a 5.5 or a 6 at most. At best. But no, it's a 7 at least.
But he listened to reason. He heard my points and he thought, you know what, Peter's onto something here.
No, because again, it wasn't. Again, I was probably too harsh saying I actually disliked it, but it wasn't. It didn't leave me with a great feeling. It left me with an okay feeling.
Like
7 is okay.
I'm not putting
7 is good.
I'm not going to put stakes on this like landing the distance. Like this could end up being a crappy run as time goes on. Like I have no way of knowing that right now. But I think I like this issue, and I think there's potential and promise here. Right? It's not flawless, but I liked a lot in it. So
give me more Max Mercury, please. Running into Buffalo.
I mean, I'm not that fussed about Max Mercury, but I'll take him over Chad.
Yeah, Chad. I hope Chad the Speedster becomes a thing though, because it is so funny.